councillors, senior staff members, members of the members of the community in the gallery, and certainly members of the press and the press gallery. Very warm welcome to everyone here tonight, and we also welcome our viewers on live streaming that are out there watching this meeting from home. Great to have you all with us this evening, and we will be working through the agenda in its normal formats, and I think some of you have agendas there to watch, to follow through with us. We'll endeavour to call the numbers and explain the process as we go forward. But the first responsibility is to acknowledge country. The Shire of Esperance acknowledges the Kepikal Wadjuri people of this Noongar Nation and the Naju people, who are the traditional custodians of this land and their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians today. Okay, so we commence by the attendance, and all councillors are attending tonight, this evening I should say. It's not tonight yet, it's this evening, but we have all councillors here, so there are no apologies. Are there any applications for leave of absence from any councillors? Councillor McMullen.
Thank you. I'd like to apply for a leave of absence on the 15th and 16th of November.
Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to apply for absence from the 27th of October to the 30th of October. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further applications for leave of absence? Councillor Graham.
Yeah, better take a day off. I'll apply for a leave for the 4th, 5th and 6th of November.
5th and 6th of November.
4th, 5th and 6th.
4th, 5th and 6th. Thank you. Any other leaves? Okay, I'll just take that as a motion now. Someone prepared to move those be granted. Moved by Councillor O'Born, seconded Councillor O'Donnell. Doesn't need any debate. Those in favour, please show. Against, that is carried. Thank you. So we go then on to item 5, which is announcement by the person presiding without discussion. And I do have some announcements today, councillors. I just want to take this opportunity to give a sincere thanks to a number of people. And firstly, particularly to the civic reception we had, where we presented Freeman, my apologies, key of to the Shire, to Dr. Wally Byrne. I think it was an excellent function. I think it was enjoyed by everybody who attended, and I'd like to pass on my sincere thanks to all of our staff that worked so hard to make that such a successful evening, and particular mention I would say to Emily Hegney for her huge amount of work leading up to it and following through from there. The next thanks it goes to all of those people involved at the Esperance show. We had a lot of staff involved, and I think the Shire of Esperance put up some very good presentations there. I'd thank all the staff that were involved with that, and the people that prepared the presentations and cleaned up and moved away. And also I'd pass on the thanks from the President of the Esperance and District Agricultural Society, who extended his sincere thanks to me and asked that I pass it on to all of our staff who did a lot of work in the build up to the show and then again cleaning up. So thank you to those people. And the third subject with thanks goes to all those people involved with the cemetery clean-up. There were a number of councillors, there were staff there, a lot of members of the public. I understood there was about 40 people there. It was a bad day, but the clean-up was excellent, and I think that it's a credit to everyone who after they had their raincoats on for the first half an hour to hour, got the raincoats off and really got into the work, and certainly the lawn cemetery area looked a treat by the time we finished. I'd also acknowledge the Rotary Club of Esperance Bay, who put on a barbecue lunch. I didn't have the opportunity to stop and enjoy. But so there, sincere thanks to all those people that I've mentioned and who've done their parts over the past month. We go to item 6 on the agenda, which is the declarations of members' interests. Firstly, the declarations of financial interests. Are there any councillors declaring financial? So, firstly, Councillor De Haas.
I would like to declare a financial interest in 12.4.2, the request for short-term adjustment to retail trading hours, as I have a local business.
Thank you. Councillor Chambers.
I'd like to request declare a financial interest in item 12.4.2, as I own a supermarket that trades 7 days a week.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Yeah, declare an interest on 12.1.4, holiday home application, as I own a holiday house.
Thank you. Councillor McMullen.
Thank you. I'd like to request a financial interest in item 12.4.2, request short-term adjustment to retail trading hours, as I own a business next door to the proponent.
Thank you. Any further declarations of financial? And we go to declarations of proximity interests. Are there any declarations of proximity interests? Councillor O'Byrne.
Thank you, Mr. President. I declare an interest in item 12.1.1 as I own property in one of the mapped areas referred to in the report.
Thank you. Proximity interest, Councillor Chambers.
I declare a proximity interest in item 12.1.1, local planning scheme number 24, amendment number 8, as I lease property within the within one of the areas. But I'll also note that I have been given authority to remain in the chambers during that debate, thanks to a dispensation from the minister.
Thank you. Proximity interest, any further proximity? Councillor Graham.
Yeah, proximity interest on 12.1.1, local scheme amendment, as I've land in or adjacent to some of the area, but I too have been given dispensation to act on the decisions in front of us.
Thank you. Councillor De Haas.
I would like to declare an interest in the 12.1.1 local planning scheme number 24, amendment 8, as I own property within one of the areas.
Thank you. Are there any further declarations? Councillor Flanagan? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to declare an interest in item 12.1.1, local planning scheme number 24, as I own property adjacent to the respective areas. I also hold a letter or an approval to consider matter opposition by the Department of Local Government and Private Industry.
Thank you. Councillor Horan.
Yes, I'd like to declare proximity interest in item 12.1.1, local planning scheme number 24, as I have land and property in the mapped area. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McMullen.
Yep, I too would like to declare a proximity interest in item 12.1.1, local planning scheme number 24, amendment number 8, as I own or lease property in the affected area.
Thank you. Any further declarations of proximity? If not, councillors, we move on then to declarations of impartiality interest. Are there any declarations of impartiality interest? Councillor O'Byrne.
Yes, I have an impartiality interest in item 12.1.1 as I attend a local church, which falls obviously under places of worship affected in this item.
Thank you. Is there any further declarations of impartiality interest? If not, that concludes the declarations. Thank you for all those councillors, and I'll endeavour to work through them slowly as we get into those items you've mentioned. We go to item 7 on the agenda, and if you're reading the agenda, you're on page 10. The item 7 is public question time, and I do have some, certainly Dr. Newkirk, you have indicated that you have a question. Is that correct? Would you come through to forward to the microphone, please?
Adequate? Good, thank you. I've circulated an email to all councillors and to senior council members regarding the Aspers waterfront extension. I have major concerns here, and I would like to ask a few of the questions that I've circulated, and request that the remainder be answered in due course. The first key question that I would like to ask is, what is the current estimate of the total capital cost and the annual operating cost for this project?
Okay, thank you for the question, Dr. Newkirk. I'd just so I could put that request to Mr. Walker.
Yeah, through the chair, we don't have those costs on us right now. So this is a concept design. It is not a proposal to actually do work. So the next part, once this is endorsed by council, to develop those plans and work out the costings and the financial implications.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, in my email I note that we actually here in council had a similar situation in July 2018 where that was deemed to be an adequate approval for the council, for the Shire to go ahead. So that doesn't apply in this case. There will be another application for Shire to bring this where councillors can actually improve progress on this project.
Well, I'll hand that to Mr. Walker, but I may make comment myself.
Yeah, so through the chair, there is potential we can do some of these small items out of our maintenance funding, but any large capital items will go through the council budget process, and council will deliberate through that process and either allocate money to the project or not.
Thank you. I think that's an adequate answer to it. Yes.
Thank you. No, that's fine. In my email, I gave a quote from Johnny Mitchell, Yellow Taxi, a well-known song, maybe a bit old for some of the younger members here, but in it she says, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. I just want to actually hone in on the first part. They paved paradise. Part of the area that is being talked about here is an area that was set aside for the demolition of the tanker jetty and subsequently the staging of the creation of the new jetty. Was there an allocation in, we know that the jetty is completed, we opened it, etc. Was there an allocation in part of the project to actually restore that area?
Could I say that, to you, Dr. Newkirk, before Mr. Walker makes comment, we always indicated that area there could be used for a extended car parking for the Canterbury Arts Centre, and we part of the process was that we needed more parking along the foreshore, and that was why we had discussed it that way. Now, Mr. Walker, you want to cover the financial aspects?
I won't cover that side of it as such, but yeah, through the chair, I guess restoring it was previously, it was a gravel car park for jet skis. Like, obviously, we wanted to consider what we do with that area going forward. If we restored it back to what that is, it probably wouldn't have changed much from what we did. We created a little bit larger area, so we had a bit more lay-down area, but it was always that gravel car park. I don't think that's appropriate, so we were looking at options how we could improve this, and pretty much an extension to the foreshore.
Thank you. Dr Newkirk?
Okay, well, the follow-on question is, of course, say an additional car park was not part of the C Design Studio brief, right? When and how was it established that the cannery needs a further car park? How many extra spots are deemed necessary? And what alternative has been considered for this? Particularly in the light that if that is the car park to be used for the cannery and a kind of overflow, there is major problems in getting across Northern Road and danger to the public.
Thank you for your opinion, Dr Newkirk. To say it was a car park only for the cannery, that is not right. Any public will be able to use it when the work's done. For you to say it's difficult to get across there, you might note in the works that's been done as an extension from the new roundabout, there is a protected area for people to cross the road, and that would be normal when you have traffic numbers as they are now. We would put in a protected area for a refuge area in the centre where people can move to and then move across to where they're going and return in the same manner. So that's the design that's been put in place there. Mr Walker, you wish to add to it?
Yeah, just to say, there was already previously a gravel car park there for the jet ski area.
Yeah.
When we considered that, we looked at how we could incorporate the jet ski car park and a jet ski launch area, and decided that the jet skis were better to be launched at the Yacht Club beach in a much more protected area. But I'd say the primary reason for that car park wasn't the cannery and an overflow. That's a secondary point. The idea was to be able to create an area where people in Esperance, particularly the elderly people that don't get out of their cars, can actually park up and look over the ocean and get that view over the ocean. And that has been a comment that's come back to our department in the Shire, that people are missing that and not being able to park there and actually be able to sit and have their lunch and watch what's happening over the ocean. And particularly those people that can't get out and about or aren't as mobile to get down into the areas that will have that view.
Thank you, Mr Walker.
Okay.
Next one,
Thank you.
Count.
And the final question I would like to ask, in the special meeting on the 11th of October, 2 weeks ago, Mr Walker said the Shire is working to stop losing sand in the immediate future. Can Mr Walker confirm that he referred to the current waterfront extension project, and particularly seeing that the staged plan refers to 5 to 10 years for rock armour to be installed? What else, I don't think 5 to 10 years is the immediate future. What else is the Shire working on to stop the sand losses?
Mr Walker, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, through the chair. No, this waterfront extension plan does not impact the separate project of sand renourishment via sand backpassing through the dredging of Bandy Creek Boat Harbour. From looking at options, yes, we're always looking at options how we can retain sand. Obviously, pumping sand or placing sand there isn't ongoing necessary, but if we can reduce the rate of that sand being lost, then we get a better outcome. Potentially, as suggested in the previous report, we may be able to look at some reef breaks or some other options around to supplement the sand renourishment to, I guess, stop the storm surges coming and taking up metres of beach at a time.
Okay, thank you for that. I guess, Dr Newkirk, my statement to that is that we've had a strong renourishment plan in the Bay of Esperance here for, I guess it would extend to 40 years by now. I've certainly seen the issues as we have faced them of putting sand back in. There has been changes to the sand losses and erosion over time because of rock walls, etc., that have been put in place. We are continually working to endeavour to hold more sand there, whether it's carted in and tipped in by truck or whether it's backpassed. To me, it sounds common sense to continue to work with that process because of the reduced cost and the clean sand that we are using. that we used last year, and I believe it'll be cleaner sand this year because some lessons have been learnt, and I think that we will get some answers along the way, but we still may have to add sand. Now, every year we've had to add sand in the past. This last 12 months is the least sand that we've put in to the sea, bringing it in from dry sands from other areas after the amount of sand that was pumped onto the beach. And so I think that this council, the whole council, and including our staff, are always looking for improved ways to deal with that, and we'll take actions where we believe we've got solutions that can assist the amount of sand we have to add into the system. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate what you say, and I agree that is happening. But I specifically point here at the wording of what Mr. Walker said on the 11th of October. He said, is working to stop losing sand. In his answer, I heard nothing about the losing sand or stopping losing sand in the immediate future, right? It talks about refilling, not about stop losing it. So, I mean, I would like to hear, I'd be really keen to hear what it actually is that Mr. Walker meant there in that special meeting.
Well, there's two aspects of it. Mr. Walker can answer for himself in due course, but be aware that all the work we're doing with sand renourishment, we are in partnership with the state government through the Department of Transport. And so we have to seek their approval. We have to seek the advice of their engineering people of what we can do and what is appropriate to put in there, because they fund, I think it's 2/3 of this cost of putting sand renourishment into the whole system. So accept the fact it's not just the decisions of Mr. Walker, it is also those other professional people that he has to work with. So that's my explanations concerning sand renourishment.
I appreciate all that, but I ask specifically in the statement that Mr. Walker made 2 weeks ago, the Shire is working to stop losing sand in the immediate future. What is it specifically that he had in mind when he said that?
Did you wish to answer that, Mr. Walker? You don't have to.
Through the chair, if that's probably not what I meant. I'm not sure on the context or the actual wording. If I did say that exactly, then I apologise. That's not what I was trying to, or the point I was trying to get across. Obviously, we want to reduce the sand loss. There's no way I can actually stop sand loss in the bay, given there's a net loss within the bay.
That's right.
Thank you. I hope that you will take that in consideration when you pass the minutes of that meeting, because they're done incorrectly. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. I've got Miss Tiffany Brown. You've indicated you wish to ask a question. No questions? Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions that members of the public would like to ask? Thank you very much then. So that deals with the public question time. Item 8 is public addresses and deputations. Are there any deputations? We have, Mr. CEO. Thank you. We go to petitions. Are there any petitions that we have? Thank you. That's nil. Confirmation of the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 27th of September. Is there any, there's an Ordinary Council meeting and a Special Council meeting. Let's deal with the Ordinary Council meeting first. So the September Council meeting was held in Samagums. Is someone prepared to move the confirmation of the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting on the 27th of September? Moved by Councillor De Haas, seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor?
No, nothing further to add.
Okay. Is the seconder wish to speak?
No, thank you.
No speakers. No speakers against the motion. I put the motion to the vote. Those in favour, please show. That is carried 9-0. And then we have the second part of that is the Special Council meeting of the 11th of October be confirmed as a true and correct record. Is someone prepared to move that? Sorry, it's Councillor De Haas and you wish to read the motion, Councillor De Haas? Yeah, but I've broken it into two because there was challenge on the statements that were made. So are you prepared to move the second recommendation, which refers only to the special council meeting?
Okay, that the minutes of the special council meeting 11th of October be confirmed as true and correct record.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor Haas and it's seconded by Councillor Horan. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Haas?
No, thank you.
Seconder wish to speak?
No, thank you.
The speaker against? Put it to vote. Those in favour, please show against. That is carried. Thank you. So we move on then to delegates' reports without discussion. And first one we have is Councillor Oborne. Councillor, do you have anything to add to your report? Thank you. Councillor Flanagan, nil report.
Looks a bit grim, sorry, Mr. President, but nothing further to add. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes, I'd just like to say that I thoroughly enjoyed participating in the cemetery Busy Bee, and let's have some fun facts, if I may. From the Shire Girls, that fun facts was 74 sausages were consumed, so thank you to the Rotary Club of Esperance Bay. 30 bags of rubbish were collected, and 1,000 snails were removed from headstones, and over 3,000 graves were cleaned. It was fantastic, and it was over 30 volunteers arrived, and at the beginning was drizzly, as Mr. President said, and we all got stuck in, and it looks as spick and span. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Graham, next to report.
As tabled, thank you, Chairman. And maybe I can invite a work day next week so we can pick some snails at a nice garden.
Well, I hope Councillor O'Donnell had multi-thousands of snails because there was a lot of them there. We move on then to Councillor De Haas.
Nothing to add to that, thank you.
Councillor Horan.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Councillor McMullen.
As tabled, thank you.
Councillor Chambers.
As table, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, and mine are as tabled there for you to see. Thank you. That is the delegates' reports. Councillors, we now move into the decision-making items that we need to deal with. And on page 11 of the agenda, and the item relates to item 12.1.1, the local planning scheme number 22, amendment 8. 24, number 8. Just for the benefit of the public, I will point out that there has been a number of councillors who have declared interest, either a financial or a proximity interest in regards to this item, and a dispensation has been requested from the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries, in other words the department whose act that we operate under, and dispensation has been granted certainly to Councillor Graham, Councillor Chambers, and there's one other councillor, and Councillor Flanagan, that's correct. And so they're not required to leave the chamber. There's judgment obviously made in regards to their declarations as being probably in the minor area, and so they haven't been required. Have granted dispensation to be part of this discussion, this debate. So I refer you now back to the page 11, to the local planning scheme amendments. And are there any questions to Mrs. Phillips or Mr. Henley in regards to this item? We have some additional words up there and on they're written up in red, and so that is potential amending of the original motion, as I understand. But councillors, you've got the item on page 11, and the recommendations start on page 12 and go through to page 16 in regards to this. I'm not going to ask you to read all of those items. If someone's prepared to move it, I think you can move it in a format where we understand, and the minute secretary will be dealing with it appropriately. So, if there's no questions to Mrs. Phillips or Mr. Henley, we'll move forward. But I'll give you the opportunity to ask questions if you wish. No questions. Okay. Is someone prepared? Yeah. Yes, Councillor Chambers.
Just a question, Mr. Henley, in regards to point 22 that you've got there. Earlier when we were discussing it, you've got amended Schedule 3 by inserting to Clause 18 as contained in the amendment. New A, additional use, workforce accommodation, new D, but you've actually crossed out the additional use in the second point.
Through the chair, that was in the proposal that went to the Minutes Secretary, who hadn't deleted the struck through section.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, councillors, so is someone prepared to move the motion in full or without the amendments, or whichever way you want to go with it? Councillor Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move the officer's recommendation as it stands in the council agenda without the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Flanagan. Would you like to just read through that as I gave you the opportunity to do it in a brief manner?
That the council, in accordance with regulation 50.3 bracket B, the Planning and Development Local Planning Scheme Regulations 2015, support draft amendment number 8 with a proposed modification to address issues raised in the subdivision. Submission, sorry. Numbers 1 through to 20.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Flanagan. Is there a seconder to the motion? Seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. It's moved and seconded. Councillor Flanagan, you can speak to your motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really have nothing further to add. The officer's recommendation is comprehensive. The process has been and gone through the normal statutory processes, and it proposes a series of amendments that will accommodate future use. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against the motion or an amendment? No speakers against, no amendment. I'll give the seconder the opportunity to speak in favour.
Thank you, Mr. President. I support this motion, which follows on from the motion that was considered back in April and was passed. Therefore, strongly support the draft amendment number 8 with the proposed modifications to address issues raised in the 17 submissions obtained by the public with their 49-day advertising period. I'd like to thank those who made the submissions. I'd also like to thank Ms Phillips and Mr Henley for all their hard work here and the due diligence, and I strongly urge my fellow councillors to vote in favour of this motion.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against the motion? Or an amendment? There's no speakers against. I take it you're ready to vote, and councillors, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour, please show. Against, that is carried 5 votes to nil, which is doesn't have to be absolute majority, does it? It's a true majority of the meeting. So please call those councillors back into the chamber that are sitting outside. Councillors, that motion was carried 5 votes to nil, the standard motion that was put forward. Okay, so we now go on to item 12.1.2, proposed local planning policy on tiny houses. And you'll find that item on page 40 of the agenda, and the recommendation is on page 41. Are there any questions you might have to Mr. Henley or Mrs. Phillips on this item? No questions? Okay, someone prepared to move the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Oborne. Do you wish to read it, please, Councillor?
I move that the officer's recommendation that council, in accordance with clause 4 of the deemed provisions set out in the Planning and Development Local Planning Schemes Regulations 2015 Schedule 2, prepare the local planning policy, tiny houses, as contained in attachment A.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to the motion? Seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Oborne, you can speak to your motion.
I see this as a procedural motion. Any decision we make today enables the staff to send this out for public consultation, and then it returns to us to make a formal decision at that point.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? Councillor O'Donnell, you can speak to in favour of the motion.
No, I'd just like to thank the staff for their attention and for the maturity of the planning that this forward with this.
Thank you. A speaker against? Or an amendment? No speakers against, no amendment. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour. That is carried, 9 votes to nil. Thank you. Councillors, we now move on to the item 12.1.3, which is the proposed local planning policy chalet development outside of town sites. This is on page 49 and the recommendation on page 50. Are there any questions you might have to Mr. Henley or Mrs. Phillips? No questions? Okay, somebody prepared to move the recommendation? Moved by Councillor McMullen.
I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council, in accordance with clause 4 of the deemed provisions set out in the Planning and Development Local Planning Schemes Regulation 2015 Schedule 2, prepare the planning policy for chalet developments outside of town sites as contained in attachment A.
Moved by Councillor McMullen. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor De Haas. Councillor McMullen, you can speak to your motion.
Much like the previous motion, this is somewhat procedural. All this does is allow the administration to go out and conduct community consultation on this matter, so that then we can make an informed decision on the item down the track. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? Councillor De Haas, you can speak in favour of your motion if you wish.
Nothing to add, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against or an amendment? No speaker against or no amendment. I'll put to the vote those in favour. Those against, that is carried 9 votes to nil. We go on then, councillors, to the item 12.1.4, development application, change of use, dwelling to holiday house, lot 1002 of Watson Street. Items on page 56 of your agenda, and the recommendation is on page 56 to 58. Yes, Councillor Graham has declared a financial interest and is leaving the chamber. Thank you. Are there any questions you might have on this item, councillors, to Mr Henley or Mrs Phillips? Yes, councillor.
Just one question.
Chambers.
If I may, through the chair. It's in regards to the objections that we received. We received a number of objections for holiday homes in regards to noise and other concerns that people have. Those, through the management plan, all those objections are required to go back to council. Can you tell me how many objections we've actually received at the Shire in the last 2 years?
Through the chair, I can recall 2.
Thank you, Mr.
Any any further questions you might have to the staff? No? Okay, all right. So, so the mover, oh no, we haven't got a move yet. No, so no more questions. So someone prepared to move the motion. It's, commences on page 56 and runs through to page 58 with all the conditions applied. And once again, I won't expect you to read the detail of all of those, dot points. Councillor O'Donnell.
Mr President, can I move this motion with 2 new conditions?
Well, yes, give it to us, and that can be the substantive motion, or it can be challenged, so I'll...
All right. I move the officer's recommendation that council approve development application 10.2022.5071.1 for a change of use for the existing dwelling to a holiday house at lot 1002 24 Watson Street, West Beach, subject to the following conditions 1 through to 11, and the following advice notes 1 through to 10, with new conditions. New conditions that the approval granted will be limited to a period of 1 year, renewable by way of further application lodged before the expiration of that period. Leave off the local government thing if you may, M. Yep. Yes, thanks. And B, the renewal of the holiday house will not require advertising in accordance with clause 64 of the deemed provisions.
Okay,
That was with the help of Mr Hindley.
thank you. Now, are there any questions you might have on that motion? I think Councillor O'Donnell has read it out as it is.
Can I just clarify that it's actually going to be a condition, so it's number 12 rather than an advice note number 11. So
right.
number.
Right.
So that should be put back into the other part of the motion, shouldn't it? Because it's
Number 12.
okay. Can we do that with it now? Cut and paste it.
Insert that in. It just needs to be number 12.
Would you like me to read that again?
Um,
Are you right?
Might just get you to read what you've added onto the motion
Yes.
in that last point, though it's point 12.
Okay.
Through the chair, it should be condition 12 and 13, because they're two different
There's
conditions.
2 points. That's right, 12 and 13. Okay, yeah, that's better. Renewal of the holiday house will not require advertising in accordance with clause 64 of the deemed provisions. Okay. Do you just like to read those point 12 and point 13?
Yep, thank you. With addition, condition number 12, the approval granted will be limited to a period of 1 year, renewable by way of final further application lodged before the expiration of that period. Condition number 13, the renewal of the holiday house will not require advertising in accordance with clause 64 of the deemed provisions.
Thank you. Now, Councillor O'Donnell has asked to put that motion forward. Are you prepared to move it, Councillor O'Donnell?
Yes, thank you.
It's moved by Councillor O'Donnell. It's seconded by Councillor De Haas.
If I can be a little bit picky, can we just have the word adverting changed to advertising?
Good
Typist.
spelling.
apologies.
Probably the word processor does that for some reason. Okay, you're happy with that, councillor O'Donnell?
Yes, thank you.
Right, that's corrected, that one. Now, is it the seconder then will be councillor Oborne, so it's moved and seconded. Councillor O'Donnell, I'll give you opportunity to speak to your motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. This we've set the precedent in the past with this type of condition, and I feel that it just helps with the neighbours' sort of concerns in regard to this, and just allowing this out the 12 months to see how things go.
Thank you. The speaker against the motion or amendment? Councillor Oborne, do you wish to speak as the seconder of the motion?
To thank Councillor O'Donnell for taking the time to work with Mr Hinley to put that those few extra conditions in there. I think it finds a good balance between letting people make investment decisions on their assets, but acknowledging that that's a house next to someone's home and giving people scope or recourse to have this changed if it doesn't go well in the next 12 months. But I appreciated our site visit today. I thought it was a good site. There's ample parking. I was impressed with the professionalism of the business that manages it, and so this is just an extra layer of, if it doesn't go as well as we hope, honouring the neighbour's objection, here's a way to mitigate that.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against the motion or an amendment? There's no speakers against and no amendment, but I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. That is carried. 8 votes to nil. Call Councillor Graham back into the chamber. Councillor Graham, for your information, the motion was carried with some additional clauses put in, clauses 12 and 13 by Councillor O'Donnell. So let's move on then till we go to item 12.1.5, development application for an oversized shed, 1 Tupper Street, Esperance. This item is on page 66 of your agenda, and the recommendations on page 69 and 70. Are there any questions you might have to Mr. Hinley or Mrs. Phillips on this item? No questions? And is somebody prepared to move the recommendation? Councillor McMullen.
Yep, I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation that council approve development application 10.2021.4727.2 for an oversized shed at lot 92, 1 Tupper Street, Esperance, subject to the following conditions 1 through 9 and the advice notes 1 through 5.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McMullen. Is there a seconder to the motion? Seconded by Councillor Flanagan. Councillor McMullen, you can speak to your motion.
This is our monthly oversized shed that we're dealing with. Noting this one, it's a built for purpose shed. The shed needs to be this big to house the proponent's boat, and also a point that there are no objections from adjoining landowners for this application. So I see no reason no reason to knock this on the head.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against the motion? No speakers against. The seconder wish to speak in the debate. Councillor Flanagan.
Nothing further to add, Mr. President.
So there's no speaker against it now, or no amendment. I'll put the subject to the vote. Those in favour, please show. Against, that is carried. 9 votes to nil. We now go, councillors, to the item 12.1.6 of the External Services, the IGO Recovery Funding Request, Esperance Aged Care Facility. The item is on page 76 of your agendas, and the recommendations are on page 78. Any questions here to Mrs Phillips? Councillor Chambers?
If I may, through the chair, Ms Phillips, was there any other applications made for this funding?
No, there wasn't, Councillor Chambers. We advertised the availability of the funding for a 3-month period and received no applications beyond this one.
Thank you. Any further questions you might have to Mrs Phillips? If not, is someone prepared to move the office recommendation? Moved by Councillor Oborne. You wish to speak to, you wish to read your motion, please?
I move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 approve a payment of $30,009, exclusive of GST, to the Esperance Aged Care Facility from the IGO COVID Recovery Fund, the fund to support contract service provision for volunteer coordination, subject to the successful completion of their previous grant finder projects. 2, note the allocations from the fund have now been fully expended. And 3, request the CEO write to all past recipients of the fund requesting information on the benefit of their initiatives to the Esperance community.
Right, thank you. It's moved by Councillor Oborne. Is there a seconder to the motion? Seconded by Councillor Dahas. So Councillor Oborne, you can speak to the motion.
Firstly, I'd like to say again thank you to IGO for the money, which was very beneficial to our community. And volunteers are the lifeblood of a regional community, and if this money can help the Esperance Aged Care Facility to facilitate a coordinated volunteer force, that's a great thing for the aged care facility, which is the only one of its kind in a 400-kilometre radius, and I encourage councillors to vote for this in an endeavour to keep families together.
Thank you, Councillor Oborne. Is there a speaker against the motion? Does the seconder wish to speak in favour?
I too would just like to encourage everyone to vote on this. I think it's an important facility in our town, and to be able to get the volunteer coordination happening can only be beneficial for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against or an amendment? Councillor Chambers.
I'd like to move an amendment which is in addition to point 3 to include that the CEO also follow up with the Esperance Aged Care Facility in a period of 12 months to identify how the $30,000 was spent and what benefits were received.
Okay, so there's we have an amendment. It's a dot 4 that it would be to that motion. Is that how you wish it, Councillor? So, Councillor, we'll get the words right. Let the minute secretary work on them.
To report on the success of the funding.
Funding. And you had a few more words there.
Yeah, I didn't actually have it. I had it written down on my notebook.
Okay.
But that covers what all.
You're happy with that as the amendment? So it's dot points 1, 2, 3 at the amendment really is dot 4. So is there a seconder to the amendment? Seconded by Councillor Horan. So you can, Councillor, you can speak to your amended motion. I'll give you that opportunity now.
Thank you. I just believe that we're going back to each of the other recipients and asking them to explain the benefits of the funding that we've given them. I think it's only fair that we can, with the amount of money that's $30,000, a considerable amount of money. I would hope that the Esperance Aged Care Facility do some wonderful stuff with the money that we're giving them, and I'd like to get a report back at a later date to ensure that that was a success.
Okay, is there a speaker against the amendment? I'll give the seconder the opportunity to speak for the amendment.
Yes, I think it's good for accountability, but also for feedback for IGO to say so they know where their money has gone and what we've done with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against the amendment? Speaker in favour of the amendment? Okay, Councillor Graham?
I'd just like to add a voice really for the whole thing, and the IGI Recovery Fund. Obviously come at a difficult time with COVID and everyone not knowing what was required, and I think the Shire should really appreciate that they've backed us and given us the flexibility to make the decisions along the way, and even early in the year when we asked them to clarify it, they again gave us the support that we could use the funds that we thought fit for the appropriate recovery post-COVID, of which the aged care facility, obviously through workers, etc., were affected just like many other industries. So, thank you, Bruce.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Graham. So is a speaker against? No speaker against. I'll put the amendment to the vote. Those in favour of the amendment, please show. That is carried 9 votes to nil. The amendment becomes a substantive motion now, and so is there any further debate that you wish to have on the substantive motion? No? Okay, well, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour, please show. Against, that is carried. 9 votes to nil. Thank you, councillors. We move on then to item 12.1.7, Flinders Subdivision Local Development Plan, and the item is on page 82 of your agendas, and the recommendations is on page 84. Are there any questions you might have on this item to Mr. Henley or Mrs. Phillips? Any questions? If not, councillors, is someone prepared to move the recommendation as it is on page 84? Councillor Horam has moved.
I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council endorse the Esperance Waterfront Extension Landscaping Concept Plan and accompanying staging plan.
Oh, that's not the right one. Wrong one. Councillor? Page 84.
Mistake. Okay. I was on the wrong page. Sorry.
Councillors, could I just point out that there were some of the printed agendas where the numbering was wrong, and I think that's just tripped up Councillor Horam, but I will call the numbers because I've got the corrected numbers on my list. I've altered them around to make sure. So you're actually looking at page 82 of your agendas, but you might have page 80 on them. Well, this is 84 is the recommendation, yes. Right now, Councillor Horam? Okay. You still want to move it or not? Okay, all right. So, Councillor Oborne, you wish to move?
Do you want me to read all 4 points, or can I say points 1 through 4?
No, I think you should lead off with the first part of it, and then you don't have to read right through if you're happy with that. It's a bit hard to follow on that screen, I know that.
I move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 prepare the local development plan for Lot 290 Tribune Parade, Bandy Creek, in accordance with Regulation 48, 2 of the deemed provisions in Schedule 2 of the Planning and Development Local Planning Schemes, Regulations 2015, and then dot points 2, 3 and 4, which a summary is that it's not contentious, that it will be approved as per the regulations, and that a we will publish a copy of the approved local development plan on the Shire of Esperance website.
Thank you, councillor O'Donnell. The motion is moved. Is there a seconder? Oh, Vaughan, my apologies. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Chambers. Councillor O'Born, please.
Again, I don't see this as a contentious item. I think it's more procedural. We have been trying to pursue this development of the Flinders estate for many years now, the whole time I've been on council, and this simply is a motion to enable that subdivision to go ahead as per the deemed provisions and regulations and schedules.
Does the speaker against the motion? Seconder wish to speak?
Thank you, Chair. This is a development that's slightly different to most of the other ones that we've done in the past, so it will be really good to see how well it's received, and it will certainly set the scene going forward. So thank you very much for the work involved.
Thank you. A speaker against the motion or an amendment? There's no speaker against or no amendment. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Against, that is carried. No one votes to nil. We go to the Esperance Waterfront Extension Landscape Concept Plan, which is on page 86 of your agenda, and the recommendation is on page 88. Are there any questions you might have on this item to Mr. Walker or Mr. Burge? Any questions? No questions? Someone prepared to move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Horan.
Kick me, second time lucky, thanks. I apologise for the last one. Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation. The council endorse the Esperance Waterfront Extension, Landscaping Concept Plan and accompanying staging plan.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor Horan. Is there a seconder to the motion? Seconder to the motion? All shy. Councillor Chambers is seconded. Councillor Horan, you can speak to your motion.
Yes, this is a long time coming. It's had so many people get to me with that piece of sand along there that kept blowing along, and they always used to pull up there for their lunch, and it's been a long time. And I think that looking at the concept plan, I'm extremely pleased with it, and I think we'll line out any issues that we will have with regards to parking and that. I think it'll just come natural. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? The seconder wishes to speak in favour. Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to point out that this is the landscaping concept plan. There's a lot more work to be done in the future, and the ability to include or exclude items going forward. But I think it's great to have a plan moving forward in that area to make sure that we can hopefully avoid any issues going forward and be aware of what's going on and the other projects that are planned for down that section of the beach.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Is there a speaker against or an amendment? Put to the vote. Those in favour? Against? That's carried. 9 votes to nil. Councillors, we now go to the item 12.3.1 in the Corporate and Community Services agenda, and that item is on page 105 of your agendas, and the recommendations on page 107. Are there any questions you might have to Mrs. Baxter on this item? No questions? Somebody prepared to move the motion? All shy. Moved by Councillor O'Born.
O'Donnell.
No, I had it from Councillor O'Born. Had two
That's
hands.
fine.
I move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 advise the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries of its intention to undertake a voluntary process to address the local government election reforms. 2, change the method of electing the Shire President to a vote by electors of the district under S.2.11 subclause 2 of the Local Government Act 1995, and 3, initiate a ward and representation review to determine changes to the structure of the council for the 2023 local government elections.
It's been moved by councillor Coburn, it's seconded by councillor O'Donnell. And so I'll give you the opportunity to speak to your motion, councillor.
I didn't want to move this motion because I strongly oppose the idea of popularly elected mayors or presidents, but the state government's imposing this on us, and if we don't choose the voluntary route, we will be forced to have a complete spill at the next election, and that's not in the best interests of our community. I think the best interest of our community is to keep councillors McMullen, Horan, De Haas and Flanagan, who would have 2 years under their belt by then, at least. You know, McMullen's got 6, so that's in the best interest of our community, is to have the wisdom, the skills, the experience, the continuity, and avoid a spill motion. But I don't think it's in the best interest of our community that we don't get to choose who leads us and unites us. But I don't have a say. So I'm voting for this so that we don't lose good people around the table on behalf of our community.
Thank you, councillor O'Born. Is there a speaker against? Councillor O'Donnell, do you wish to speak in favour as the seconder of the motion?
Thank you, Mr. President. Only to agree with councillor O'Born. This is the lesser of two evils. This particular, I just don't agree with any of it. But anyway, we need to move forward. So yes, we hope this goes well for us, the Esperance community, and we retain our new councillors. I think this is really the only way to go for the Esperance community. So please vote for this one, councillors.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against the motion or an amendment? No amendments. I'll put to the vote those in favour. Against, that is carried. And there was required an absolute majority, councillors, and I guess that is, CEO might explain why it was an absolute majority.
Yeah, so the absolute majority was really required for the change in the election of the Shire President to be voted by the district. So that's the main process.
Okay, thank you. All right, councillors, so we now move on to item 12.3.1, the final financial services report, excuse me, September 2022. Do you have any questions on this item, which is on page 113 of your agendas? Do you have any questions to Mrs. Baxter? No, no questions? No? Okay. Someone prepared to move the recommendation, which is on page 113? All shy? Somebody prepared to? Councillor De Haas.
That's what I had to do. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council receive the attached report entitled Monthly Financial Services Report, incorporating the statement of financial activity for the month of September 2022.
Thank you. It's moved by councillor De Haas. Is it seconded? Seconded by councillor Flanagan. Okay, so minute secretary's right. All right, so it's moved and seconded. Councillor De Haas, did you wish to speak to the motion?
Just to say that once again we've got a very well put together monthly financial services report, and thank you very much to the staff.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against or an amendment? Councillor Flanagan, I'll give you the opportunity to speak in favour.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing further to add.
Okay, so any speakers against or any amendments? Put to the vote those in favour. Against, that is carried. 9 votes to nil. Councillors, we now move on to the Executive Services, the Information Bulletin, which is on page 166 of your agendas. That's item 12.4.1. Are there any questions you might have on this one to Mr. Burge? Any questions? No questions. Is someone prepared to move the recommendation on this one? 166, I said, didn't I? Yep. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to move the motion to receive it?
Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council accepts one information bulletin September 2022, two council priorities summary corporate performance September 2022, three delegations discharge corporate resources, 4 community grants program 2022/23 small grant September 2022, and 5 rates comparison report 2022.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor O'Donnell. Is there seconded to the motion? Seconded by Councillor Chambers. Councillor, O'Donnell, do you wish to speak?
Yes, thanks, Mr. President. I only to say that I've always thoroughly enjoyed reading these reports each month. I'm sure everybody around this table enjoys reading them, all the councillors. I've just got one little spelling error though on page, well, I think it's a spelling error on page 235. And it just says lot 40 Shell Road, Lake Road. I'm assuming that's meant to be Shark Lake Road.
Okay, that can be followed up.
Yeah, and that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a speaker against? Seconder wish to speak to it?
Nothing further to add, thank you, Chair.
Is there anyone wishes to speak in the debate? No speakers against, no amendment? I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour, please show. That is carried 9 votes to nil. So now we go to the request short-term adjustment to rental trading hours. The items on page 224 of your agendas. We have three councillors have declared financial interest in this item and they're leaving the chamber. Okay. 224 it is. Yep. Are there any questions on this item to Mr. Burge? No questions? Then, is someone prepared to move the recommendation, which is over on page 226? Councillor O'Born, you can read the motion, please.
I move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 endorse the following changes to retail trading hours in the Shire of Esperance with the addition of the following days between the hours of 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. on Sundays the 4th, 11th and 18th of December, on Tuesday the 27th of December and Monday the 2nd of January next year. Request 2, request the CEO to make application to the Department of Commerce for the proposed changes to apply to the entirety of the Esperance Shire. And 3, request the CEO to investigate the desire within the Esperance community for a permanent change to the existing retail trading hours in December, January and over the Easter period.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor O'Born. Is there seconded to the motion? Seconded, Councillor Horam. Councillor O'Born, did you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, we get this request every Christmas since I've been on council, and I normally am in favour of it because we, have an influx of tourists and having all those extended long weekends with 4 or 5 days of not being able to get to the shops isn't great. So I acknowledge also the work done to liaise with the Esperance Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who speak on behalf of our businesses, and that they didn't agree with the Monday, so we've gone with not doing that extra Monday. I also personally am not it's not my favourite idea that we make things permanent because, you know, there's a lack of time for families to be together. But I acknowledge that the best decisions are made when we consult with the community and we see what, I like the wording there, that we'll investigate the desire in the community. What does the community think? And we'll make a consultative approach and an informed decision after the CEO gets back to us.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against the motion? Is there a speaker in favour? The seconder wish to speak to it?
Yes, I'm all in favour of Councillor O'Byrne said, and also, you know, the influx of tourists we saw last year, I think it should help alleviate some of that, especially with the extended hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against on amendment? I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Against? That is carried 6 votes to nil. Call the councillors back into the chamber, please. Councillors, I'll just advise you that the motion was carried 6 votes to nil to support the staff recommendation. So it's now time to deal with item 12.4.2, which is the common sewer usage from July 22 to September 22, which must be reported. It is page 233. Right, yeah. And the recommendation is on 234. So are there any questions on this item to Mr. Burge? It's a normal reporting process, councillors. Somebody prepared to move? Councillor Graham has moved.
Yeah, I'd just like to move the officer's recommendation that council receive the report titled the Shire of Esperance Common Seal Usage for the period of July 22 through to September 2022.
Been moved by Councillor Graham. Is it seconded by Councillor O'Donnell? Thank you, Councillor Graham.
Yeah, just good to see a few things happening in town that need to be stamped. I guess particular comment is about a couple of pieces of land from the Shark Lake subdivision being stamped and sold. Well done, CEO.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Speaker against? Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak in favour?
Only to apologise before I meant this one here, that's just a typing error. Thank you.
Rightio, thank you. So, any further debate? Is there a speaker against or an amendment? No speakers against, no amendment. Put to the vote those in favour. Against, that is carried. It's 9 votes to nil. So we go to the final item in these numbered ones, 12.4.4, the agenda briefing and ordinary council meeting dates 2023. This is on page 235 of your 237 of your agenda, sorry. 237 of your agenda, councillors, and I guess we've got an item to work out on the September meeting of next year. Can I have a bid? And you can tell me whether I'm right. But councillors, I did note in here, I put Munglanup down. Now, you might question Munglanup because it's on the river and the boundary between Esperance and, Esperance and Ravensthorpe. And I'll accept it's in the Ravensthorpe Shire, but more than half of the people that live at Munglanup are ratepayers in the Esperance Shire. Their businesses are in the Esperance Shire. And we have had, over the years, a very good relationship with the Munglanup community, I believe, and we have supported them as in their development programs for to get supporting facilities up, etc. I just wondered if it wasn't a good thing to go out there and have a meeting out there and join with them as we did with Salmon Gums when we were up there in the September just gone. but you are open to nominate any other one of our towns. Yes, councillor?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go for it.
In this, my terms of the past three OCMs, was it Cascades? My apologies. In my terms of the past 3 years, just trying to confirm my thinking, was it
With-
Cascades, then
Conding Up
then
and
Salmon Gums?
That's right.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, councillor
Um,
Chambers?
Yeah, can I also ask a question to the CEO, whether whether you're allowed to have a council meeting outside the shire boundary? I know there's some restrictions on whether you can attend a meeting or like by Zoom or whatever if you're not within the boundary. Just want to check.
I'm not aware that you can't, but it is probably a good question for me to follow up with, just to clarify.
Not that I disagree with the idea of going one month.
Well, I mean, I think we need to check it out then. I mean, I guess we could have this motion on the basis that item 3 be left out of it and be dealt with at a later date, basically, couldn't you? You find out about that one, or you might some council might come forward with another site they'd like to take the,
Or you may want to include it, and then if we can't do it, I can bring it back.
Yeah,
And
okay.
maybe you can deal with it like that.
If we just change item 3 to agree to hold the September ordinary council meeting at Mundana pending approval.
Oh, just probably just a clarification, or not clarification, but how does that work with the Shire of Ravensthorpe? Because we're popping over to their town to hold a council meeting.
I think we do that, we invite them to come along to it. No, I'm building relationships with neighbours, that's what it's about. Yeah.
Just wondering about that element of it, that's all.
Yeah, no, well, I would, certainly, I've got good relationships with the Shire President at Ravensthorpe, and also there's a new CEO that they have there, and he's keen to come and talk to us about tourism issues. I met with him at the local government week a few weeks ago when we were up there, and he was quite keen to come and network with us. So I just felt that we could consider that, but I'm not trying to push it onto your council. It's your call, and I'm happy to put it in there, and we'll find out whether we're allowed to do it or not. And the other situation is you could drop that one out about the September meeting, and we'll fill that one in later. And the September venue be nominated at a later date, something like that. You could ask that part of your motion. Councillor Graham.
I'd like to nominate one of the significant little town sites that we probably never stop at is Gibson. Significant population living there that probably we've had queries on. I just ponder whether we consider Scatton in the process of not Scatton, Dahlia. Why not come to Dahlia? It's closer to go to Gibson for me. Yeah. So I guess we Salmon Gums highlighted that they had some local issues that they wanted to talk about, and I just wonder whether how many years it is since the council have been to Gibson.
Well, I can tell you when we were last in Gibson. I can't tell you the year, but the hall was still standing there. And I suspect it was around about, yeah, 90s, definitely in the 90s. Well, it's open for you to move a motion and put a name in there, and Councillor Graham has suggested, so I'll take it that he's prepared to move the recommendation with Gibson in the item. Yeah. That's all right.
I can twist my arm, I'll do it. All right, are we ready?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll take it from here.
I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council agree to hold a agenda briefing on the third Tuesday of each month commencing January 2023 with the following exception. The December briefing, which will be moved forward 1 week. Number 2, agree with the attached schedule of ordinary council meetings from the date of January 2023 until December 23, with the following exceptions: the April council meeting, which should be held on the fourth Wednesday of that month. B, the December council meeting should be moved forward 1 week. And number 3, agree to hold the September ordinary council meeting at Gibson. And number 4, request the CEO to undertake all statutory advertising in this regard.
Moved by councillor Graham. Is it seconded? Seconded by councillor Oborne. Councillor Graham, you wish to speak to your motion?
No, well, we just found out that it was the 90s since we were last at Gibson. and yeah, it's quite a significant little town site in our area, and it's probably a good time to go back. Thank you.
Is there a speaker against or an amendment? Second one, wish to speak, councillor Oborne? Okay, we put it to the vote. Those in favour, please show. Against, that is carried. And we'll work out whether we're going to be at the pub or the football club, I guess, because the hall was pulled down many years ago out there. Yeah, well, that's a good thought. So that concludes the agenda business. So we go to reports of committees. It says nil on my, that's right. The motions of which notice has been given, nil. Members' question with or without notice. Is there any members' questions that you might want to ask? Urgent business approved by decision.
So council, we do have an item 17.2. It was distributed earlier today. It's just in relation to the old Salmon Gums School leasing for the Museum Village. So council may wish to consider that.
Well, councillors, I've held that item for your consideration, whether you will consider it tonight to the behind closed doors agenda, because the item is to be dealt with behind closed doors. So I think we'll just consider that. I'll give you the opportunity to consider whether you'll deal with it once we get into the matters behind closed doors. Are you happy with that? Good. Okay. And so we go then. Members' questions whether without notice, there's nil. Urgent business approved by decisions, nil. And so the only matters left are 2 items for behind closed doors. So I'll be very generous again and give an opportunity for a member of the public to ask questions. Public question time at the end of the meeting. Dr. Newkirk.
Yes, thank you for that opportunity. I would like to ask a question about 12.3.1, the item that you just passed regarding 2023 local election reforms. And I just point you at page 106, actions. It says there, council resolved to undertake a board and representation review, develop comprehensive discussion paper due the 28th of October. I noted it's 3 days. I would like to ask, has council, has SHAR already prepared that paper, or are they confident that they can get that prepared by the deadline? And secondly, seeing that there is only 6 weeks consultation, has SHAR organised advertising of this so that the public is aware that they have only 6 weeks to probably a decision?
Thank you for your question, Dr. Newkirk. The CEO might like to make a comment.
Yeah, so we have got a draft discussion paper prepared, and it's essentially along the lines of the last one, and also the local government reforms that are required. So we do have a draft in that, and once, or now council has resolved to go that process, then we can start the advertising process probably in the next week or so.
Okay.
Because we've got tight timeframes to meet the minister's requirements.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Mrs. Baxter, you
Just
wish
a
to make a
small
comment?
addition to that, we're planning on using the social pinpoint social media platform to assist with the community engagement, so it should be up soon.
Thank you. Well, you'll get the opportunity to do that, Dr. Newkirk, I can assure you of that. And could I say, you heard the debate, I don't think any of us are happy about where the minister's sending us in this, but we have no ability to change the direction. It's basically mandated, and so we've got to deal with it, but we did elect to go down the line of retaining awards and doing award readjustment, so that's where the process will take us. Any other questions from the members of the public? Yeah, come through, please. No, come forward to the... Oh, we need to get you on... Yes, we do. Yeah, confidential. What? Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, they're definitely allowed to come back in. Thank you very much. Okay, now we haven't moved yet to go behind closed doors, but but you'll be able to. Well, the councillors mightn't support going behind closed doors. Councillor Graham.
I'd like to move that we go behind closed doors.
Moved by Councillor Graham, seconded variously Councillor. Okay. Councillor
We are.
Flanagan. So we have those people who have re-entered the chamber, and also to people that are watching this on live streaming from home. We dealt with 2 items of the agenda behind closed doors, and then I can report on the basis that we made decisions of taking possession of land on an assessment in Salmon Gums for outstanding rates, and we will be dealing with that item. And the second item was in regards to a lease of a property in Museum Village, the old Salmon Gums School, and council's made a decision to enter into a lease with the Esperance Community Arts for the old Salmon Gums School, and they will be able to rent that property from council. So that concludes the meeting. I thank everybody for their good debate tonight, and I was pleased to see a number of people from the public in the gallery, and hopefully we've got a number of people watching at home. And so I thank councillors and all the staff for the hard work through the meeting and in preparing the agendas, etc. And particularly like to thank Emily and Elise for their work as we work through the agenda, and I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.